when people think price and dollar value and just a number, you haven't separated yourself out enough from the competitors. And a lot of people that we find and we work with, they start out by giving quotes, sometimes on the back of a napkin, sometimes on a one-page sheet of paper with, hey, paint outside of house, 2 coats, this is the price. And if you're giving quotes like that or proposals like that to a customer, you're going to be just basing your differentiator on price, because that's the only thing the customer knows.
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brushbuster. Scaling up the game.
Hey guys, this episode has been generously sponsored by Drip Jobs. If you're looking to save time, close more jobs, Drip Jobs is the CRM built specifically for painting contractors. You can manage your leads, automate your follow-up, build proposals, and send invoices all in one place. And with powerful tools like production rates and job costing, it will allow you to work smarter, not harder. So I really recommend trying Drip Jobs to see how it can help streamline your business. And we have a link for you in the description. Check out the special offer for this podcast now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Brushbusters. Stoked to have you guys here. My name's Jesse, and I got Coach Kit on with the call today. This is the first time Kit and I have done a Brushbusters together, so I am so excited. Kit, how you feeling today?
Looking forward to it, man. Yeah, abstract.
I'm fired up, man. I think it's going to be a good time. Now, before we get into it, Kit, have you ever heard of the gentleman's agreement?
No, tell me more about it, Jesse.
Okay, well, it's from a podcast that I love to listen to. Have you heard of My First Million, MFM?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing business podcast. But they have this thing, it's called the Gentleman's Agreement. And they provide all this amazing value, free value for their communities. And they don't ask for anything. But the only thing they do ask for is to just leave a review on the podcast. So I think today for this podcast, we're just going to ask you guys, can you do the Gentleman's Agreement? Which is, if you get a lot of value today, it's a lot of fun, just go to Spotify, leave us a review, subscribe on YouTube, and support the journey so we can keep providing a ton of value to you guys. That seems like a fair request, eh?
That sounds pretty fair to me, Jesse.
All right, cool. Well, let's get into it today. We're gonna bust some brushes, and I'm really excited today to talk about Brushbusters. Actually, this weekend it's gonna be the first time I've been on the tools in over 4 years. My brother bought a home. I promised I'd help him go paint it. It's my it's my birthday on Friday, and I'm flying over there to paint on my birthday. Again, I have not touched tools in like over 4 years, so I'm a little nervous, but it's gonna be exciting.
That's amazing, man. Did you even touch tools while you're running a painting business too much?
No, so I left my last business in 2024, and the last time I touched tools in that one was for I think it was like 6 times for about 10 minutes in 2021. So I'm like known for being the world's, one of the world's worst painters. Don't tell my brother that, because I'm painting his house. But I kind of take pride in that I'm such a bad painter.
I think your painters kicked you off site most of the time.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah. Remember, like Joni, she was one of my operations lead. Right, I came in. I hired her as a painter. Within 3 weeks, she was like running 3 crews for me and whatnot. And I would go to site and I got bored. It was like my first year, like after going through chaos and whatnot, I was like getting bored. So I'd like go pick up a tool, and my painters would just look at me and be like, "Can you just like not?" I think isn't that a fun place to be in your business when your crew like actually tells you to not do that. I think it's kind of funny. So
they'll hang out with you at lunchtime. They'll hang out with you after work, but not on the paint site.
Yeah. They're like, we know what we're doing. Now that was obviously a lot of training and good SOPs to get there, but. Yeah, once you get there, it's kind of fun when your painters tell you to get off site.
Love that, man.
All right, man. Are you ready to get into it? You want to read the first letter today?
Sounds good. So we got a letter here from Tyler in Cleveland, Ohio. Hey, Brushbusters. Lately, I've been running into the same thing over and over. Homer's saying my quote is too expensive. I know I'm not the cheapest, but I also know the quality is there. I'm getting frustrated hearing, we'll think about it, or we have cheaper quotes. How do you handle these money objections without just lowering your price or walking away? Appreciate any help, Tyler. Great question.
Yeah, love this question. I think everyone listening to the podcast can empathize with Tyler of how frustrating that can be when you take, an hour, maybe 2 hours of your time to do up that quote, and then you can't even get past that point of that people are just saying, it's too expensive, or they're looking at other cheap options, or you got Jim and his truck and Chuck or whatever they call it, and he comes in and potentially lowball. So I got a lot of thoughts on this one. What do you got? Do you want to start?
No, you go ahead, Jesse. Yeah,
All
I saw
right.
your brain just ticking away there.
Cool. So when people say things like, we'll think about it, I mean, we can go, like, those are kind of down the line. Actually, I want to start at the root of this. So if you're priced properly, let's just start at the data that if you did 10 estimates, how many people are actually telling you that you're too expensive, or that they're looking for cheaper? Is it actually everybody? Sometimes your feelings are very different than the facts of what's going on. Sometimes I would have to get in that zone and say, how many people have actually said that? Now, if you're priced properly, 2 of every 10 estimates you do, people are going to say that. So 20% just off the hop. And if that happens, you're actually priced perfectly. Now, if it's considerably more than that, if it is 4, 5, 6 of the 10 estimates that you're hearing that, well, then we have some, deeper issues. But that'd be the first place that I would start and look at it, is just look at the data and say, what is the data actually telling me? And is this a fact or is this a feeling? To make sure that we're actually having the proper conversation. And you're like, the way that I like to price jobs as well is that if somebody went out and got, and this was actually a line I use all the time on estimates, like if you went out and got 10 estimates, there would probably be, we'd probably be around like 6 or 7. Like, we wouldn't be the cheapest, and we're not going to be the most expensive, but our promise to you is to deliver a 13 out of 10 experience for basically middle of the range pricing. When I say that, people that will tell me in the setup call that they're getting multiple quotes, and then when I get there and I go through the perfect estimate, which we can dive into, going through some of those tactics and value-based selling, usually that overcomes the objection like 9 of the 10 times, right? Because people get it, they know, like, and trust you. And ultimately, I think when people say the excuses, or say if they're going to think about it, well, what do they need to think about? You probably haven't understood their needs. You're probably missing something. Or we have cheaper quotes. Well, can I compare the quote? Can we go apples to apples? Are you quoting for the same thing? The way I like to quote as well is the price that I quote you today, assuming the scope doesn't change, is the price of the job. And I'm curious, how many times have you seen it where a painter has quoted something, or like a competitor, it's just to get that job? By the time they send the final invoice to the customer, it's 20, 30, 40, 50% higher than that initial quote. So there's a number of different things that you can do when you're talking to the customer to add that value so that they know what they're actually looking at. The thing that I find is when you're going out, if you do 3, 4, 5 estimates in a day, and you can get into a flow and you kind of stop thinking about what you're doing, you have to remember that homeowner, every single estimate, it's the first time they're thinking about it in 10 years probably.
It's new to them, for sure.
Right, but you're in it all day. You might be skipping steps. You might be skipping jargon. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on this one. What do you have, Kit?
Yeah, no, that's great. I go back to, what type of value are you adding throughout the entire process to the customer? When people think price and dollar value and just a number, you haven't separated yourself out enough from the competitors. And a lot of people that we find and we work with, they start out by giving quotes, sometimes on the back of a napkin, sometimes on a one-page sheet of paper with, hey, paint outside of house, 2 coats, this is the price. And if you're giving quotes like that or proposals like that to a customer, you're going to be just basing your differentiator on price, because that's the only thing the customer knows. But as soon as you start going and asking about their needs, and you ask some really good questions to understand what's important to that customer, then you get to start differentiating yourself. Like, this customer, it may be that they don't want the paint on something like a fence because they had overspray before. Or another customer, I don't want my gate left open because we lost our dog last time. We had to spend a day and a half finding that dog, right? So everything's going to be different to a customer, and every customer is unique. It's all going to be like 10 or 12 different needs. Like, I want it to last a long time. I want good quality paint job. Well, what does lasting a long time mean to you? Right? It's not just lasting a long time, because that could mean 7 years to one person. It could mean 12 years to another person. It could mean, I just want it to last as long as I'm in this house. Okay, tell me more about that. Why is that? And that's really getting down to the root of what's important to the customer. And then you can start understanding the customer and selling to that need, and showing the customer why you're the right person to do the job for them, versus just comparing a one-page little document with a price on it, painter A, painting company B, painting company C. I don't know how to differentiate these people, because they all came and did the exact same thing. But actually, painting company D, they came and they heard me. They came and they listened. They really got to know what's important to me about the job. They know that I really want a great paint to use on the house to last a long time, and to not close, and to close all the gates while we're here, right? And then you can start working with the customer on that specifically. Then you start adding value bit by bit by bit by bit. That's what I'd add there,
man.
Jesse.
So good. And I think if we keep discovering the layers and getting to the root of what's really going on here. And I think it just comes down, they don't trust you. They don't trust you. And I think that going to principles thinking, so that everybody understands here, is that what you're talking about is what I say is the second C in the trust triangle: common sense of purpose, right? You actually fully understand what is important to that person, and you sell to that. That's what you're talking about. The other C's that make up the trust triangle, so everyone knows, is character. So do people like doing business with people they like? So do they actually like you? Then it's common sense of purpose. Do you actually understand their specific needs, all the things that you just mentioned? And then the third one is competency. So have you actually demonstrated that you can do the job that they're looking for? And if you haven't done those three things throughout the estimate, you've totally missed the mark. And the easiest way to tell if you've done those things is when you finish the walk around, is to just look at the customer and say, hey, at this point, do you trust us to do the work? You just call it out, right? And if you've done your job, they're like, oh yeah, of course, like that. Of course I do.
Simple.
But I would probably bet that if people ask that question and listen to people's responses, it wouldn't be that outstanding yes, like we absolutely trust you. There would be, even if they say yes, it's not that like that heck yes answer. And then at that point, if you ask the question, then you can say, what else do you need to see from me so that you do trust us to do the work? And you can understand your gaps from there. So that's something that you can implement like right away. Just ask that question when you finish the walk around and say, do you actually trust us to do the work?
Totally.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Anything else on this one for now, or do you think that's a couple things that people can implement right away?
I think that's a couple things people can implement right away, but I will add one more if that's all right. We got time for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I did come across it with people that I realized price was an issue, right? And they were just working on, like, I did a great selling job, in my opinion, which, might be good or whatever, but it was great for me at the time. So I knew my bar, and I knew these people, they really liked what we had to offer as a company. They liked what we were going to do, and they still were price conscious. And so what I said was, cool, which part of this quote and the scope of work is most important for you to get done right away? And like, oh, well, the sunny side of the house. No kidding. That's the part that's failing and peeling. Why don't we do that right away? We'll take care of that. I'll give you a price for that separately. And what we can do is we can actually take care of a side or two of your house every year, and you can plan for that. And so if you break down the scope and the amount of work you're doing for somebody, they can be very, very grateful for that. Because otherwise they might feel, I don't know what the right word is for it, Jesse, but they just can't, they feel inadequate.
Right.
They feel lesser because, oh, I can't do this whole $10,000 job right now. But if we broke down that side to $2,500 to $3,000 per year, that's manageable. And that worked for me a couple times. So I'm not saying break down the whole job into 4 pieces each time, but could you take off a garage? Could you take off a shed? Maybe they just need to do the siding this year and then the fascia the next year, right? Yep. So that's something that I would add to as well, is that of what Jesse said, 20 to 30% of your quotes are like just price conscious and your price rate. Those 20, 30% people, maybe that's a tactic to work with. But I wouldn't go into that right away. I would try to figure out what are you missing in your sales process, in your value addition first, before just discounting or dropping the scope of the work.
Yeah, that's a tactic that I used all the time, actually, was because how easy is it? Like, once somebody's your customer, how much easier is it to eventually like upsell them to the other things, right? So I've had a number of those scenarios where people mentioned that they were price conscious in that. And so I would deliberately say, well, what is most important right now? Is it the trim or is it the siding? Like if we're doing the full exterior, for example. And they say, and I'd say, from what I see, the trim is in much worse shape right now. Like you'd be better off, like from my opinion, just telling you guys, you'd be better off to do the trim this year and the siding next year. And they're like, oh, that's amazing. Like, thanks for letting us know. So I'm like, why don't I make the trim the base price? And then I'll option out the siding, like you just said. And then I won't even, when I go in there, I won't even try to sell them on the siding at all. I'm like, let's just get you scheduled in for the trim. Let's just do that now. Let's say it's $4,000. And I just get them locked in for that $4,000 job. I would say 90% of people from that standpoint end up doing the siding later on that year anyways. Totally. It's kind of like just getting them, because once they're a customer, they, you get there and then I just call them, hey, did you guys want to add on the side? And they're like, you know what? Actually, we do. And it's so easy to get that extra, $4,000 to $6,000 right there, just by doing what you're saying of breaking it down so it actually works for them in the beginning.
Totally. Yeah. I love
the
that.
$4,000 decision is so much easier than a $10,000 decision. But then now that we're just moving into our house, getting back in Canada, and initially I was like a little like gun shy on getting some of the furniture as we're furnishing. And dude, as soon as we bought a couple things, I'm like, oh God, the floodgates have opened now.
It's just like in a sports game, right? Yeah. You're playing against another team in soccer, for example, and you're just trying to score, press. You can't score. All of a sudden, you score in like the 43rd minute of the first half, and then goal. You're 3-0 up before half is over, right? Like it's so just true. That type of thing. Like I love it.
Yeah. And then you have that momentum. It just keeps going after that. So. Okay.
And then they're a customer for life, which I love.
Exactly.
Because then they love you, you love them, you get to know them, they get to know you. Yeah. And that's really one of the big parts is I will add in to that last little bit. I find that a lot of people I work with, painting business owners, don't spend enough time with the customers. They go into a 15-minute to 20-minute estimate, and you think that's great. Do a 2-hour one. See what your SR and your sales ratio, how that improves if you just stay around for an hour and a half, around them, talking to them, hanging out, having a tea, whatever it is. Man, that will shoot up right away because of that thing you talked about, Jesse. Yes. That's likability and trust.
Well, and I think that's having a long-term mindset in this game versus a short-term. Like, am I just trying to squeeze, every job out of this year, or are you building a brand that actually has equity in it because people love you, and that makes a big difference for how much value is actually in your company, right? When you have those relationships and you've created that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of spending way more time with people. And for people that are like, oh, I'm just too busy, I can't spend that, amount of time. I would actually flip that and say, you can't not spend that time because you're going to cost yourself time by not booking those jobs, by not building that brand equity, and the second, third, and fourth other order consequences that come from rushing that process. So the other thing too is people can tell, like when you show up to an estimate. And I've shown up to estimates where I'm absolutely like in a rush, and I go to the customer and I still go through the process and everything, but it's rushed. Like they can tell, I can tell, and people will never remember like what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
100%.
And I know that my sales ratio went up tremendously when I would get to the customer's house. I'd actually usually drive like around the corner, like first, like get there even a few minutes early. I'd close my eyes, I'd take a few deep breaths, and I'd allow myself to get completely present to that customer. And then when I show up, my talking is a little bit slower. It's more deliberate, it's more intentional. I'm actually listening to what they're saying versus thinking about the million other things that I need to do in my business right now. And yeah, honestly, that'll probably overcome any price objection if you just do that, as well as if you're going to an estimate right now. Like if you're on your way to an estimate, just take 60 seconds or 120 seconds before you step out of your vehicle and literally just close your eyes, take a few breaths, allow yourself to get present to that customer, present to what you're doing there, and go see how that estimate flows. And then send us a letter and let us know how it went.
That's incredible, Jesse. Yeah. That one thing alone.
Yeah. All right. Should we keep going?
Let's do it.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. We appreciate that letter, man, that's always a great question. And I think we've answered a version of that question probably, 10 different times on the Brush Busters, but every time we answer it, new stuff comes out of it, which I think is really interesting.
Totally. And also the listeners will hear it differently
Yes.
later in life, right? They hear it once, hear it twice. Okay, now I finally actually heard it the seventh time, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Okay, this next one, I think you're going to be the specialty on this one, so I'm excited for this. So this is from Raymond from Charlotte, North Carolina, turning meetings into partnerships. So, hey coaches, I finally landed a sit down with a popular local realtor. She seems interested in working together, but she also mentioned that she's already working with a painting company. Now, I'm not sure what to do next to actually lock in that relationship. Any moves I can make to turn this into a legit partnership without coming off too pushy? Thanks. And again, that's from Raymond from Charlotte, North Carolina. I think this is a really, really great question. This compared to the other one that hasn't come up that much, I think that this specific scenario is a bit new. So I'm excited to dive into this one. What are your thoughts on this, Kip?
I mean, my first one is to give, right?
Yeah.
Giver's gain type thing. So could you do something for that realtor that wouldn't take too long and would show who you are, right? Proof is in the pudding, right? If you make it or deliver it, they see it. So could you say, hey, well, is there a bedroom that you want in your condo, your house, your townhouse, wherever the realtor is living, that you just want to be freshened up? I can come and show you the experience that we offer, right? And it's going to be cost a gallon of paint. It's going to take 4 hours of time, and who knows where that's going to go or lead to, right? So that came up for me first when I read this earlier before the call here, and that's what sort of is still sticking with me now. So I think it's one of those things. What can you do for them with no strings attached, no worry about the outcome of if they become a legit partnership with you? Just offer something amazing and see where that goes.
That's so good. That's really aligning yourself in life with the law of reciprocity, the universal law, right? You just give and don't expect. The thing that when you do those things, like, to get a little bit deeper or spiritual, because I like to go there sometimes, and not sometimes, all the time, is that the law of reciprocity, the thing is it might not come back to you from that realtor directly, but the universe will be working for you to do a scenario that things will come around full circle in that. So if you just have that mindset of, I'm going to add as much value to, this person, the situation that I can. And if you just approach going back to, doing an estimate, every time I show up for an estimate, I'd say, regardless if this person works with me or not, I'm going to show up and add as much value to them and help them as much as I can. And that's the starting point of everything. And even if that means that I've recommended other painting companies for specific jobs before, because I know that they're better than we were at those ones, for example. And the other word that you use to just call out is when you said you have a room, let me show you the experience. You didn't say, let me show you how good a paint job I can do. And I think that for everyone understanding that everything in life is ultimately is an experience. And that's why these strategic partners are going to work with you more because of the experience that you can provide, not really most painters that you're not going to differentiate yourself, for the most part, just in terms of like the actual paint job itself. There's no way, right? Painting is not rocket science. So it's in that experience. So I love the things that you were talking about there. And the other thing that I would say is that in the first part of the letter, Raymond says that she's already working with another painting company. I think where I would go in that approach is I would just say, oh, that's interesting. Like, can you tell me more about that relationship? And just get clarity. Like, is this a relationship that they've had for 10 years and their businesses are deeply integrated with one another and they're sending referrals all the time and that's like the bread and butter for both of them? If that's the case, I might just say like, I might not put any more effort into that relationship specifically, right? But if it's, hey, I'm working with a painter and there's nothing formal, it's like, it's really casual and that type of deal. Well, then you could go into those different tactics and strategies to do that. And then also just having a conversation with them and just say, once you kind of get clarity on where they're at with that relationship, I would just say, what does success look like to you in this partnership? Like, how could we make this a major win for your business? and like really understanding, again, going back to common sense of purpose, right? Like just understanding their needs and then seeing what they're looking for.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else on this one?
I guess it sort of goes like, so a strategic partnership could be anyone, right? Property manager, realtor, interior designer. So it's the same across the board of what's important to them and why, and what are they looking for, right? I have one of the owners that we coach here at Painter Growth, and he built his business off of interior designers in his town. And they are by far the best relationship builder for him because he offers high-end luxury experiences for multimillionaires. They have condos that are in the millions, and he goes in and paints them, and there's no questions asked about price. And we just had a price thing earlier on, right? So if we can find the clientele that work with people that are in their homes designing stuff for them, and they refer you and recommend you, wow, right? And when realtors have that type of relationship with the homeowners as well, you don't have those comparisons. You go in there and they're recommended. You don't have to compete with 10 other estimates or 10 other quotes. Likely you're the only one.
Yeah, I think you just called out a huge thing there too. We talk a lot about targeted marketing and the type of clientele you're working with, but I would go to that realtor's website and any realtor, and frankly, just look at the last 10 homes I've sold. And is it
bang on?
Are they luxury properties? Are they in like the really nice neighborhoods that you want to paint, or are they not? And yeah, just make sure that that person actually works with the type of clientele that you want to work with, and that's such a good starting point. And a quick actionable for everybody is today. I mean, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Grok, you could do what this research probably would have taken 20 hours to get a good pull on it, but you could literally enter the prompt and just say, who are the top 20 luxury real estate agents in this area or interior designers in this area, and give me their name, number, email, and all that data will be there. Like I used to pay virtual assistants like 20 hours of work to go do something like this. But nowadays, I mean, you can enter that prompt and have it done in about 5.5 seconds. So yeah, but it starts with entering that, knowing what you're looking for, right? If you're just looking for any realtor or any property manager, it's very different from being, hey, I work with luxury realtors or luxury property managers or luxury interior designers, not just anybody.
That's right.
And then when you focus your attention on that, you actually get those relationships and jobs, honestly, that you want, rather than just, again, I think a lot of people come into Painter Growth and they're still a little bit in the mindset. It's more of a mindset than anything of, I'll just take any job that I can get. And that's one of the first things that we talk about on our on-ramp call, is switching that to, what are the jobs that you want? And let's make sure all your efforts are aligned with getting those type of jobs.
As I say, what's your niche? Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
What do you specialize
People think
in?
painting's a niche, but it's like, no, there's like niche, there's like all the sub niches, right? Like you could be specialized in cabinets, you could specialize in luxury, you could specialize in interior and in specific exterior. Like there's epoxy flooring, whatever it is. Like there's so many
Murals.
niches within the niche. Murals. Like what do you want to be the absolute best at in the world, and just find that little pocket and then grow from there.
100%. That's a great question, Raymond. Thanks for sending that one in.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Let's keep rocking and rolling.
We got letter 3 here from Jason in Seattle, Washington. Hey, Brush Busters. I've been doing door hangers and yard signs, but honestly, I feel like I'm just guessing where to send them. Is there a better way to choose the right neighborhoods to focus on? What should I be looking for? Income level, age of homes, gut feeling, LOL? Would love some guidance, Jason. Awesome question.
Yeah, really good. Going back to what we were just talking about, like targeted marketing and picking your clients, right? I mean, a couple of markers that I immediately look for in any city is golf courses and lakes. Those are just like a couple of markers that I look, because generally the homes around there they're big homes, right? And then people have disposable income to take care of it, so they generally have a nice car, a nice yard, and they're big homes, right? And they have paintable surfaces. And then the first thing I always do is I just pull out Google Street View, right? And I will look around those and I'll plot. And so I did this live on a group call with our clients, and one of our clients, they said they lived in this town in Ontario. And I went there and I said, okay, like just watch me. I'm going to share my screen. And this is how I'm going to think about your turf with no context. It was like a random town in Ontario. I never heard of it. And I said, I pointed to 2 golf courses that were pretty close to each other. And then I went around there and then I went street view and I saw the homes and I said, I think this is a really, really good area. And then I said, Jason, what do you think about this area? He goes, dude, that's like the dream area. So that's always the first thing that I would do, is just pick and choose spots around golf courses are always good. Lake communities are really good. And then look for homes that are, I would say, at least 2,500 square feet, right? And they have the paintable surfaces, nice car, nice yard that shows the disposable income. And the other thing in the States, if you're in the States, one of the coolest tools that I've seen on this, and I couldn't use this feature because we're in Canada and we have different laws and everything, but it's on Sales Rabbit. And they have this feature called, I think it's data AI. And there's so much public knowledge in the States, but you can literally you can go to the areas and segment out the income levels. They also have data, they have predictability software based on when people have done renos to see how much more likely they are to like paint their house or to do their roof or to do solar. It was like, when I was looking at it, I'm like, this would be the first thing that I would buy, because it would save me so much time and money that if I know every marketing dollar is going into these predictive neighborhoods that are higher income and around these nicer areas, I'm like, this is pretty wild to see. So definitely recommend checking it out. Because again, yeah, if we ran a company in the States, we would have access to a number of different tools that aren't available in Canada. What are your thoughts on this one, Kit?
Yeah, as you said, Jesse, that's amazing stuff. And I'd use richblocks as well.com as a place to go and find some of that data. It's like Census Mapper up here in Canada for those Canadian listeners. And it allows you to go and target by income level. Because yeah, when you ask income levels, age of homes, gut feeling, income level is a great one to start using as well. If you can find the data for people in homes that are 80 grand plus a year, and if you can go higher, that's better. It'll just give you some targets. And as Jesse said, they'll probably match up with golf courses. So if you're using Google Maps or if you're using that, same thing. But yeah, try not to go for the gut feeling, but try to find, and where I'd start with all this, I would find 2 to 4 areas in and around where you want to be working that have like 1,000 homes plus in each of those 4 areas, and then drive around them, right? It's worth your time to go and just scope it out. And as Jesse said, do they have a nice car? Do they maintain their lawn? Do they do window washing, right? Do they keep up with the Joneses? You know, are the neighbors like trying to make sure that everyone's, you know, making sure that the area is nice, right? So those are key indicators for me. And then what I'd go with is, because I get this a lot when I work with people about door hangers and yard signs. Oh, we get fines, we can't put door hangers up or yard signs. Perfect, find an area you can. There's so many areas out there that you don't have to get restricted, right? When we were doing it, we had, we had to ask for forgiveness at first. So we put lots out. And then eventually, you know, after, 20 or 30 got taken away, we started getting some fines in the mail. And you have to balance, like, does it make sense for the fines, or should I move just outside of that area and put them around? But when you're putting door hangers and signs up, a lot of people don't put enough. And the door hangers, I'll go with yard signs first. Yard signs, you want to find an area, the 1 or 2 best areas in and around your area that has 1,000 homes. And you want to put yard signs up in and around that area, outside of it and inside of it. So when they're driving into that area, they see you as they're driving in, they pull out the other side, they see another one over here, they're driving around, they see another one. You want to have them see 5 or 6 of your signs. So 30 to 50 signs up in an area with 1,000 homes is kind of what you want to look for. Not just 2 or 3. You're not going to get anywhere with 2 or 3. And so that's the yard signs. With door hangers, I find that, a lot of people I coach, they'll put 1 door hanger up in the area, 1,000 homes, they'll do it once, and they'll move on to another area. Do it 5 or 6 times. Hit every single one of those homes with a door hanger every 4 to 5 weeks, over and over and over again, right? Like, the numbers and the data doesn't really lie. 1 in 6 homes is going to paint this year. Whether it's a bedroom, full exterior, full interior, fence, deck, it's 1 in 6. So if you have 1,000 homes, that's just under 200 homes that need painting in that area. I mean, if you had 200 homes that you're painting this year, how would your business look, right? It'd be insane.
Pretty
So
cool.
if
It'd
you,
be pretty much a 7-figure business right there.
some bigger business right there, right, Jesse? Right? Like you're the math guy. So that's the numbers, guys. So
Yeah.
if you got even a piece of that, so you don't
Yeah.
need to go and hit 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 homes. Go and find the best area that you love and you want to work in. You've done a job or two in there maybe, or you know people who have, and you go and hit that area over and over and over and over again with your yard signs and your door hangers. And then people will start calling you and you'll be the known company to do the work there. So I just wanted to add that little caveat, Jesse, because I get that a lot.
I love that, man. Be the biggest painting company in tiny areas. Right. That's like market penetration in those areas. And then once you've actually saturated, and going back to like volume and quantity, like to actually saturate an area, people do not realize how much volume you have to do.
Yeah.
Like I remember we would hit, we would have all the signs placed out at the entrances and exits of the area. Like you mentioned, direct mail 12 plus times to those same homes every year. Right. And then we would knock on them once a month. Like they're seeing us 25 to 30 times in a calendar year to do that. It's like the only way people actually know who you are.
Totally.
Because otherwise you just get lost in the sea and nobody knows who you are. And if you try to market to everybody, you market to nobody. And if you market to those areas, and this has become, I mean, again, moving back to Canada and going in, it was funny. We're looking at areas and my wife found a few homes in some areas and we're driving there and I'm like, Lindsay, like I wouldn't market my business in this area because of the clientele and because of the homes. I said, why would I live in the area? And then, you know, that's when I realized that I had not explained to her like how well I intimately knew every area, that I was like, yeah, you don't market to the right of 168th Street, but you market a ton left to the street. And it's funny because we ended up in the area just left of the 168 where we did a lot of business. And so when we moved into the home, I'm like, I already know a lot of the type of clientele and people that we're going to be surrounded with, and they're amazing people that, again, they take care of their homes. It's like, it's just a completely different community and neighborhood, one street over. Like that's how granular that I would look at it. Did you look at it that granular too with your businesses? Is like literally street by street in terms of, now, if we would get a call in from that area, let's say, you know, to the right of 168th in this example, we would go service it, but we wouldn't spend any of our active marketing dollars in that area. That's the difference, I think.
There's a bleed over for sure, right? Because those areas are gonna still drive through the nice areas. So they'll see it and they'll bleed over and you'll get it, but you don't have to actually pay for that one because they'll see it. And that's not your target market all the time. Because you go to an estimate for those types of people, you might land what, 20% of them, versus when you're targeting and marketing and estimating your perfect ideal client, you land 40 to 50% of them, right? Where's your time spent? For sure, Jesse, 100%, man.
Yeah,
bang
I love
on.
it. And when we would look at new areas as well as going to, so we do the research on Google Street View and the maps, and then let's say we send out our team out there, I would always make sure that I would go out there for the first day or two, like for a few hours in the trip, because going back to the gut feeling, I think that we both get a pretty quick feel, like when your marketers are door to door, whether or not this can be a good area. Like when I go out there with within an hour or two, I'm like, either we're out of this area, like we're actually not going to market it, or this area is amazing. Did you have that experience?
Keep hitting it. Exactly. Yeah. If it's amazing. No, totally. It's worth your time. Right. Mm-hmm. And to add to that, Jesse, like, you know, how many doors have we knocked on together, right? Like, I don't want to even count about it, over 100,000 at least.
Yeah.
But
like an obnoxious amount.
but we don't need to anymore. We go there. But I would say that as someone that's running a marketing team, to keep the morale up, to keep the learning and the training up, at least make a good cadence that works with you and the business. We're going out there once every couple of weeks with the team, or once every month with the team, just to make sure, hey, are they still following the program? Are they still following the process? And are still doing it great? And then eventually you hire people out for that, right? Like now we have field marketing managers. We don't do it ourselves. So
and that when you see, so let's say in the example that you have two people that are your main reps, and they're going out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4:30 to 7:30, so 18 hours of door to door. And let's say in the first couple of weeks you're out there for 2-3 hours at a time with them, but then by week 3 or 4, you show up at 15 minutes at the beginning and you show up at 15 minutes at the end, and that times by 3 days, that's 3 hours of your time that produces 18 hours of marketing. Like that is the number one way to like start to scale your time, right?
And leverage, yeah,
and
huge.
leverage, right? And I always find at the beginning and the end, it'd be the same thing for production. And like our production manager, actually the best model that I really liked, and I still like this model for production manager, getting a little bit sidetracked here, but it's like a hybrid where they still do about 20 hours a week of painting, but then 20 hours a week of production manager. They oversee 3 to 5 crews. And the reason why I do that is because part of their job is they would open jobs. So they'd be there at the beginning to get the crew off to a hot start, big boost. And so they have a ton of momentum. And then they would be there at the end to help them push into close. And they would go around to those 3 to 5 crews. And that production manager would help that opening and the close. And that's how that production manager then 80/20 his or her time as well throughout the process.
Love it. Yeah.
Cool.
Couldn't agree. Couldn't agree more.
Should we do one more?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this is Brian from Edmonton. And thanks, Jason. I think that's a great question. It's a very dense topic, but if you get that right from the get-go, like do things right the first time, and you get that right, you will save yourself tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing and thousands of hours of time in your team's time as well, if you get that right. So choose your neighborhoods deliberately, know what your customer, and be super dialed in.
Love that.
All right. Hey guys, I'm finally at the point where I need to get help on jobs. I've heard of mixed advice. Some say hire employees for more control. Others swear by subs for flexibility. What's actually better if I want to grow and keep my sanity? Any pros and cons I should think about? Appreciate the insight, Brian. Okay. Brian, I love the question. I started laughing halfway through because I thought this was going in a different way. And then I love how he added the part like to keep my sanity. Because I was like, Brian, we might have some other issues, brother. if that's the place you're coming at from hiring people, we might have some mindset stuff to talk about on that standpoint. Because are you asking the question in terms of how to actually grow your business from, whether you're using subs or whether are you just so deep and head over water that you're just trying to get your head above water and you're going insane and you think that these people will solve your problems, because they won't. And when you add more people, whether it's subs or team members, if you're not dialed in yourself, if you're not organized, if you don't not dialed in on your priority management, where your time is going, then when you bring on people, all of that is going to multiply, not in the direction that you want to go. So I just want to call that out first, is just make sure, Brian, just get yourself organized, take a breath, understand your calendar, your priorities first before bringing people into that fold. Because two things will happen. Number one, you'll attract a way higher quality people, whether that is a sub or a team member, because you're just going to attract people that of what you are, your frequency that you're at. Right. And if you're just in a chaos zone, you'll attract more chaos into your life. So just understand where you're at from that standpoint. And then the other question going into, the actual question that I think you're asking here of subs versus employees, it just depends on what type of business you want to run, right? That's the first and the first thing that I would say is how do you want to grow your business? I've tried both models. I've had just internal employees. I've had just subs. Ultimately, what I landed on, what I liked the best for my business was a hybrid. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like the hybrid is I always had at least 2 internal crews, because they can take on more responsibilities and there's more opportunity to promote those people within the company. So they can start as a painter, move to a job site manager, move to a production manager, move to operations, sales. There's so much opportunity to grow those people. When I had just subs, I was it was literally just me and then subs. And I was there's so many other things that I cannot delegate to. And I was so blocked because I couldn't leverage myself nearly as much on that standpoint, unless I hired on that, full-time sales rep or production manager at that time. So that's what I found is a hybrid model worked really, really well for me. And then we would always have a number of subs on, extra subs in the pipeline for, especially during our always busier season was the exterior season, where we'd scale up to, 6 to 8 job crews. And then in the winter, we go down to, 2 to 4, depending on what we wanted to do in the winter. But that allowed that flexibility and scale up to service more customers at that time of the year as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a thing with having internal team culture too, right? That comes to mind. Mm-hmm. So when Jesse's asking you what type of business you're running, he's asking the right question, right, Brian? You got to look in to yourself. What are you after with your business? What's your future goals? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Mhm.
right? And then look backwards on that. Because I work with a lot of different owners, and as Jesse said, you could go the whole employee route, you can go the only sub route, and every single one of them has actually liked a mix of both.
Mhm.
Reason being is because you have cyclical seasonality. And so if you do have, and in Edmonton, we know it pretty well, we're from Canada too. So you do have winter months where you're gonna have less work. You're gonna have mostly just interior work in the winters. And you can keep a couple guys busy throughout that period. And then you scale up with the exterior seasonality of the business. And so if you can have subs on that to take off the extra work, but keep your guys busy, you can also have a way to have a really fun culture where you're kind of working with people consistently. You do events together, you grow them, you train them. As you said, you start them maybe as a trainee, and then they become a painter, then they become a crew leader over time, production manager, ops manager, sales manager, right? How big do you want your business to get to? Having people in-house that you can grow is a really fun place to be in life, right? You get to be directly there to help support them in everything they're looking for their own goals. So that's a real fun part about having employees. And you do have more control. Careful not to micromanage, right? When people say control, what type of control are they looking for? It can be really hard to let go of that, right? Like, I like things done this way. This is the way we do it. But be open-minded, right? As long as they're not screwing up, maybe they bring some really good ideas and changes into the systems that you have created, right? Because we know a lot, right? When we're in the business, when we're in the industry, but I bet you other people have different insights and interesting tells to how they could run it or what they could do or how they could improve things. And then the subs, oh man, the subs, they're great, but they're going to be their own business, right? They're also going to take on other jobs. So they'll never be fully devoted to you as an employee, right? Because they will be looking for other opportunities. But if you find the right subs, they can be very great to work with. So the people you get these comments from, you've heard the mixed advice, let go of the negativity, take that as a warning sign, heed that advice, but really stay with the positives of like growing your business and what you're looking for in 5 years, right? The naysayers and the people that, are worried for you, it's because they're worried for themselves. So don't let them put that on you. We've all done it. We've had employees. I mean, how many employees have you gone through, Jesse? 200, 300?
Somewhere around there, probably employing that number.
In that number, right?
I think so.
Same
Yeah.
on, right? Same on this side.
Yeah.
And man, it's fun, right? You
Yeah.
have the roller coaster, but we wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't, right? So when you're stepping out, you need help on these jobs. That's one of the most exciting times to be in, Brian. And just go and just like love it and just like be in it, because there will be stuff that happens that's not good. And there's gonna be some really great things out of it. But that's the way to grow and to get past the level that you're at being an owner operator right now.
Yeah, that is interesting on the culture side of things. I was just reflecting. I haven't thought about this for a long time. I think the most fun that I ever had, like the most fun I ever had running my business was in 2017 when I had 17 internal painters. I didn't have any subs.
Yeah.
And it was so like it was intense, and it was intense to manage that. And God bless Shoni, my production manager at that time. But it was so fun culture wise, like the amount of people that, we had to do events and beach days, and we had incentives, like we'll rent, paddle boards and doing that type of thing once a month. Yeah. Now that I'm reflecting on it, that was probably like the most fun I've ever had for sure. And it's a totally different business model. And that if it's just subs, and it's, hard to have any of that culture. Now it depends on scale too, where you're at. Like I know, our good friend Jason Paris runs a $15 million painting company. He's got like layers of management, but then the people that actually do the work are mainly subs. So he still has that team culture of everything, and then he has that subs actually doing the work because of the scale and size he's at. So, that's at a pretty big scale and size to be able to do that. I'd say most people aren't in that position yet. You can get there to do that. I love the culture one. Really think about that, Brian, of like what is the culture that you're creating? And same thing, are you in a position where you're just like, man, I will take anybody that I can get to help me right now? Or are you, life will actually bend to what you're willing to tolerate or not tolerate. And being very clear on the type of people that you want to work with and you want to attract, and having a hard boundary that even if you make a bad hire, a bad sub, or a bad painter, there's going to be so much work on your plate because of that decision. Now, I don't say that for you to be scared to not hire anybody. It's to just be extra diligent in the interview process and to make sure that you've done reference checks, you've done, site checks for quality work, and you make sure that, again, you do it right the first time, and you have the SOPs, whether it's internal painters or subs, that you follow, and that everybody signs off on a contract and all the expectations are clear, and like you really follow that process of bringing it on. Because you could have, again, you could make way more work for yourself if you don't do it right the first time and you skip steps and you don't do it. Now, at the same time, if you don't want to be in a position where you're, I know what I was going to say. So, because some people, they hesitate to make that first hire, that employee, because nobody will ever do it as good as them. And on that standpoint, if that is your objection or thought there is, well, can somebody do it at least 80% as good as I can? And that's a really good starting point to get it over. And most people can, if you give them that chance, they can do it 80%. Then as you become a better leader, and this is why I think in your question of like, keeping sanity is actually the real root here of what type of leader you're going to be and the type of person that you're going to be. Because if you up your level of leadership, if you up your level of personal management in terms of yourself, well, the people that you can bring into your business, going back to what you said, Kit, is they'll actually improve your processes. They'll make your business better. Every painter that I hired, going back to where we started this conversation of me having to paint this weekend, it's like every single painter in my business was a considerably better painter than I ever was. Right? And like, thank God. But across the board, right? Then you get to a point of you hire a sales rep and they're way better at sales than you ever could be, right? You hire a field marketing manager and I hired a field marketing manager. I remember in 2023, May, hired him on. And I spent one day out in the field training with him because he had 5 years of experience. He knocked on 100,000 doors himself for a charity. And I said, these are the houses we paint. These are the houses we don't paint. And then he said, okay, I got it. And 25 scheduled estimates on my calendar every single week for the rest of the summer. He worked 20 hours a week. I paid him 10 grand a month. And I was stoked to pay him that. So when you find those right hires, like you find people that are actually better at the job than you are, that is the position that you want to be in ultimately from my perspective.
Totally. And I would say that a really quick litmus test when they first come on, are they making life easier or less easy?
Yes.
And it's so quick and you're like, they're doing the job, but I'm annoyed. It's more of a headache than it isn't. Yep. The right person will make your life easier immediately.
Yes.
Not like it doesn't have to be like by tenfold, just marginally, just like a little bit. Did it make my life easier with this person? Yes. And is it constantly improving bit by bit? That's the right hire. They'll get it, right? Yes. So use that one, but go for it, Brian. Hire away, go through the roller coaster of it, and it'll be worth every moment of it, man. It will be. Like, I'm so grateful I just did it.
So good.
I wish I did sooner.
Good. Brian, appreciate the question, man. That's awesome. And stay sane. Just take a breath, brother. Just take a breath. Kit, let's wrap up. Let's hear. Do you have an example of one of your clients to share with the community? What's their first name, and what's a win that they've had recently in their business, and what led to that? Do you have an example?
Oh, I just spoke to someone today. The guy's like a long-term listener. He'll be stoked to have a shout out in this, I'm sure. Irvin, he is amazing. He came in behind a trend of what he wanted to do, of his goal, and now he's asking, not like, okay, we're going to hit it, but what can we raise our goal to? What could I go and hit? So it's that change in belief. He's now doing more than double in sales and production per week since 8-9 weeks when he started joining the course.
Wow.
More than double. So I don't want to give away too much goals, too much revenue numbers. I gave away the guy's last name just now, so I apologize for that. Should have just been a first name. So I'm going to hold all the numbers and results back a little bit, but man is out there just working really hard and doing a great job. And it's just a pleasure working with him every 2 weeks. So
that's awesome. That's so cool. Shout out, man. That's 8-9 weeks. You can literally change your life, right?
Double. I think he's doubling it.
I think that's a thing that I absolutely love about running a painting business is like you don't have to wait till next year for your life to look different, right? If you're in a position like with a couple changes, focus on the right thing, identifying what the right problem is, and then deploying the right solution over and over and over again in a matter of 8-9 weeks, you wake up and you have a completely different life and business already, which is so cool. There's a number of businesses that you don't have like that immediate quick turnaround. Like their sales cycles are longer, or things need to play out. But when you have a business like painting, man, you can make those moves really quickly.
In a week, man. In a week, easy. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, fantastic. And if you have any other questions for us, please do send us an email, send us more letters. We'd love to hear more what you guys are facing out there, what challenges, what opportunities you have out there. I would actually love to see some letters of what opportunities are coming in your way, and we can dive into that if you're helping you take advantage of those. That'd be really cool to dive into. Send us those letters in. And if you like today, again, just follow the gentleman's agreement. All you need to do, like, subscribe, leave us a review. That'd be really meaningful. Check us out on YouTube as well. And thanks for being here. Kit, this was our first one together. I had a ton of fun, man.
Can't wait for next one, man. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Take care.